can you please state what PREA is
yes.
for the record?
Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act number 12 of 2004, PREA for short. And you introduce PREA from page 2426. You quote from the preamble of the Act, and then you quote section 1, and in particular the definition of gratification. And at 2429, you quote the provisions of section 3. At 2430, the provisions of section 4. And at 2432, the provisions of 26 sub 1. So those are the sections that you rely on to culminate in the charge sheet at 2433, which charges against the 7 are more or less similar except for accused number 7, who is the employee, the civilian. But in respect of the others, the accused 1 to 6, most of them, if not all, are accused of contravening the provisions of section 3A of PREA, read with sections 1, 2, 24, 25, 26, sub 1A, Roman 2, and 26, sub 3. So these are very specific sections, and therefore very specific crimes. You may refresh your mind by looking at these documents, but if you could assist us to understand, we moved on the 6th of January from employing a civilian. We have introduced concepts of gratification. We have introduced concepts of corruption and related. And perhaps if you help us understand your affidavit so that we land where you have landed in the charge sheet, starting at page 2433. And as you do so, if there are any documents, remember I said there is the steps between the 6th of January to the 24th of June. If there are any particular documents in the docket that you say point towards gratification, point towards corruption, feel free to point them out, and we will turn to them. But for the moment, what I personally am desperate for is to understand how employing a civilian, that act ends up with including concepts such as gratification as defined in section 1.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners, Council. Let me start off first with the affidavit itself. The investigators do the investigation, and the investigation is presented to the prosecutors who draft the charges and who to charge and what charges they are. So I'm going to move from there. When we look at the charges that are there, the gratification in terms of section 1 of gratification, the definitions of gratifications in section 1. And it describes what a gratification is. That is an offer of employment, agreement to an employment. So this deals with the employment of a person which falls under the definition of a gratification in terms of PREA. So when we...
I apologize, but don't rush through it because I'm very concerned by what you have just said. Gratification can be an offer of employment. Let's go to the definition and perhaps read it correctly, right? No. Because what you just said I don't think is legally correct.
Gratification in the definition of gratification under PREA in the Prevention of Corrupt Activities Act.
Refer to your page 2427 and let's read it correctly, because you don't want to create the impression that offering somebody, giving somebody an offer of employment constitutes gratification. No, that's not what you intend to say. So, and I know that you want to use that definition for us to understand what gratification includes. And that's why I said, this was what, June 2024, 25. So read and acquaint you and reacquaint yourself. And then let's try again. Yes.
Where are you referring to me?
2427, your page 2427. That's where you give the full definition of gratification.
Thank you.
Yes.
Chair, PREA in section 1 defines gratification as including money, whether in cash or otherwise, any donation, gift, loan, fee, reward, valuable security, property or interest in property or any description, whether movable or immovable, or any other similar advantage. The avoidance of a loss, liability, penalty, forfeiture, punishment, or other disadvantage. D, any office, status, honor, employment, contract of employment or service, or any agreement to give employment or render services in any capacity, and a residential or holiday accommodation. Any payment, release, discharge, or liquidation of any loan, obligation, or other liability, whether in whole or in part. Any forbearance to demand any money or money worth or value thing. My emphasis is on gratification in D.
And I think that's our first challenge. We can't read that definition on its own. We go to the definition after we've been to the section.
I'm going to the
Because
section.
it's a section that will tell us about gratification, and the definition then, for purposes of the Act, tells us the list of what includes gratification. So gratification is not the act of giving somebody employment. Gratification resides in another section in the Act, and then your definition tells you what falls within the definition of gratification for purposes of what is stated in the Act.
Counsel, yes, Counsel. You took me to 2427. Okay. Let me explain it.
Yes.
I just mentioned that employment funds under gratification, the definition of gratification, but let me explain it to you or tell you that the section in the Act where the gratification comes in.
Yes.
It's section 3A.
Indeed.
Of PREA. That is where a person receives a gratification.
Yes.
Section 3A, where a person receives a gratification, and that gratification, as I said, is defined in section 1 under the definition of gratification, which is employment. Then you deal with section 3B of PREA, where a person gives or agrees to give and offer somebody else a gratification. And when you look at the both, together with the definition in gratification, you look at let's talk to the relevant matter. The person that was employed, she received a gratification. When we looked at the remainder of the accused, they gave her a gratification. So that is where section 3A and 3B of the Prevention of Corrupt Activities came in.
Does your answer perhaps not lie in section 3? Part of what you have just said, but read with, do you have the PREA Act with you, before you? You
Yes.
don't? Because I think that there are some parts of section 3 you are skipping. You've quoted it at page 2429.
I'm reading it from your
You've quoted it in your
3429.
affidavit, page 2429.
2429. That's where
Yes.
I'm reading it from.
Yes. But then if you're reading the actual section, you stop too soon, because it must continue after 3A and B. In order
Yes.
to act personally or by influencing another person so to act in a manner continued, sub 1, that amounts to the sub AA, illegal, dishonest, unauthorized, incomplete, or biased, or BB, misuse or selling of information or material acquired in the course of the exercise, carrying out the performance of any powers, duties, or functions arising out of a constitutional, statutory, contractual, or any other legal obligation. Roman 2, that amounts to the abuse of position of authority, BB, a breach of trust, or the violation of a legal duty or a set of rules. Roman 3, designed to achieve an unjustified result. Or Roman 4, that amounts to any other unauthorized or improper inducement to do so. So the offer of employment must fit in with the remainder of Section 3 to constitute, to fall within the definition of gratification. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Now, that forces us then to look at your docket to see whether any of the listed activities there are to be found in your docket. Is there evidence of anyone acting personally or by influencing another person in a manner that amounts to the illegal, dishonest, unauthorized, biased, acts that amounts to the abuse of position, any one of them? Is there such evidence in your docket? Will we find it there?
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay. You don't have to remember off the top of your head. We will look for it overnight. But then if you could just tell us the nature of the documents that provide that evidence in the docket. Sorry, I was going to say, would it be statements, witness statements? Would it be any other document? So I'm more interested in the description of the document, if it's in a witness statement, than for you to say the statement of XYZ.
The panel that gave the gratification
Yes.
to the Mukwele, they gave a gratification to Mukwele. Mukwele received the gratification. The gratification that she received was the employment, which was not due. The investigation and evidence that we looked at the documents, we looked at the application, and where we could clearly see that the applicant should have not been appointed. There was manipulation. When we looked at what did she received the appointment, what was she going to be given in return? In return, the post that she applied for is a very powerful post. So in terms of the act, the giving back or return for the gratification does not have to be immediately. It can be at some other time. And given the situation that she's appointed in a very powerful post, and the chairperson of the panel, who was the commander of that whole section. So, although it was not given immediately, it is said at any given time. So he held a position of power over her.
Colonel, I think
appointment.
you're missing the point. And sorry to interrupt.
No, by all means, Commissioner.
The point here is that accepting for a moment that employment is gratification, you must be giving that in order to influence the other person to do something illegal.
Yes, sir.
Because reading that section, it says, in order to act personally or by influencing any other person so as to act in a manner that amounts to illegal, dishonest, unauthorized, and all of those things. Now, in this case where your offer of employment and contract of employment says your job is to provide services to the South African government, because we have the contract of employment here commencing 1 November 2024.
Yes,
and
sir.
it says, when you get into this role, you must provide these services to the government. So it's in that context that the question is asked. So it can be that she's going to give something in the future. Because her providing a service or a labor to her employer, that's not what the section contemplates and what the definition contemplates. It contemplates that in return she must do something illegal, something improper, something unlawful.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying, is that what she was going to do is not going to be done immediately, but what you're supposed to give back was not going to be immediately, but can be given at a later stage because of the position that she was appointed in.
She was going to do something illegal
Correct.
some years later.
No, we do not know when that would be, but
Precisely the problem.
Because you don't know, that's precisely the problem.
That's precisely the problem
Yes.
with this. That you have you formulated a charge, you got a warrant of arrest, you got people arrested, you have people appearing in court, and continue to do so on the basis of something that you say, and rightly so, fairly so. You say, well, we don't know, maybe in future she was going to do that. How does that, for a seasoned investigator, how does that sound right? As you say it, we don't know, maybe in future she was going to do that, and you've taken all these drastic steps that have a consequence on people's lives and have had a consequence. And you sit there now, many months later, you say, well, we don't know. Maybe she was going to do it in future. It cannot be right that that's a basis on which you went and instituted this prosecution and got a warrant of arrest. That's precisely the problem with this.
And my concern, Colonel, is that the date of the offense is listed in A1 and the supporting annexure as October 2024. But she signs the contract of employment in December 2024. So 2 months after the date of the offense. And the effective date is 1 November 2024. And if you are saying this offense, which amounts to acceptance of gratification, the material facts relevant to it, happened in October. But some years from now, we don't know when. We think it's in exchange of her doing something illegal. I mean, that's circuitous reasoning, which I just don't get. And let me be clear to you, we don't want to go into the merits of whether people are guilty or innocent. That's for the court. That's for the criminal court. What we are concerned with is, what was IDEC's motive? Was IDEC doing these things because they were influenced by politicians, or there was some ulterior motive, or they were acting contrary to the NPA Act? That's really what we're looking at. It's not our place to say people are guilty or innocent of a crime. That's for the criminal court. So I hope you understand that. But to get to that, my interest in particular, is what did IDEC do from the moment it received the complaint? Did it comply with statute? Did it follow correct procedures? And what was the reason behind how IDEC acted? And all these questions and what we elicit from you, we may have to draw inferences from those at a later stage. But just so you are clear, we're not focused on whether people are guilty or innocent of a crime.
Can I respond?
And I hope that assists you and you are able to come down, and when you respond to questions, it's with that in mind.
Can I respond,
And
Commissioner?
we've taken Advocate Sello's time, but
Not
I
at all.
did so because I could see that you were struggling with the second part of that definition of gratification.
Commissioner, noted. What I've explained, and what you've explained now, that what you are looking for is that whether IDEC was influenced in any way with regards to this particular matter, and that's where I'm saying that's where the emphasis was. But when we're going in deeper into the matter, and this single matter, we're going right into the merits of the whole matter.
No, Colonel, we're going into how you conducted yourself in the lead up. That's what we're focusing on. So your affidavit, where you were asking for a warrant, that's the lead up.
Yes.
That's not in the criminal court, people answering to charges. That's IDEX conduct in the lead up. How did you deal with documents? For example, I asked you a question. Let me give you an example. I asked you a question earlier about whether the advert was, inviting people from outside to apply. And your answer to me was, you were not aware at the time, you became aware now. Now, I've read your affidavit, the same affidavit we're looking at, from June 2025. And in that affidavit, you say so, in so many words, that this position was advertised externally. So it
Commissioner,
means in June last year already you knew that to be the position because you put that in your affidavit. Again, that's the lead up. That's not what happens in the criminal court.
Commissioner, if I could just stress the affidavit, part of it, and the advert. I did not say that it is now. Only get to know now. When the documents were subpoenaed and we got the documents, the whole appointment documents, the advert was there. So it was clear when we received those documents in February, March 2024. No, 2025. I just got to get the date right. When we received those documents, then the advert was there. All the applicants' documents were in the bundle. So there we saw it externally. And we also noticed that it was advertised previously too as well. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioners. You, just staying with the definition, I think you stated that this employee was to act illegally in the future in order for the employment to constitute gratification.
She would have been, as I explained, and I did not want to go too much deep into the merits of that response.
No, it's okay. I'm just